Welcome to the first episode of the Uncharted 3 Multiplayer Guide to Success series. I'm Onan here, and I'm going to talk about movement in this episode. This isn't going to be exact strategies or anything like that in this episode. It's just going to talk about how the movement options at your disposal work. Most players in Uncharted do not move in any sort of distinct way, so I feel like talking about this is very important because lots of players generally just sprint around everywhere without, like, as though they're a chicken with their head cut off. So with that said, let's just get right into it, and the first thing we're going to talk about here is this default animation, which I call the jogging animation. Most people probably refer to it as a walk, but I call it a jog. I call it a jog because it's faster than a walk would be, and it's slower than a run. So as you can see here, Drake is moving pretty slowly. The general use for this is just to pace yourself. Think about where you're going to go next. Plan ahead. Sprinting gives you less time to think. So when you're using this animation, or when you're in this animation, you can do anything you want. You can jump, you can sprint, you can climb, you can aim, you can blind fire, you can roll, everything. Nothing is really too laggy. I mean, there are some situations where at times you will get the wrong animation you didn't mean to get, and that is perfectly okay. It'll ruin your day for certain in any match, but hey, them's the breaks, right? So as you can see, I'm demonstrating how well they transition and showing various animations here, how they're stopping the jogging and whatnot. So you can just use this to interrupt. You can use whatever you want to interrupt the animation, and you should generally be pretty safe. Obviously, use whatever you want to interrupt it when it's safe and when it's a good idea to do so. So now we're going to talk about sprinting. Now, sprinting is your fastest movement option in the game. Compared to jogging, you have limited control, though. Not as limited control as you would think, though. I mean, you can definitely make some sharp turns and such. It's a little bit more limited in the sense that you cannot see as much as you can when you're jogging. The camera zooms in a little bit more than during the jogging animation. You can interrupt the sprint animation with the same thing as you can the jog animation. You can also stop your sprinting by pressing L3 again, which is your left analog stick. You just press in and you can start the sprint or stop the sprint. You can stop the sprint by climbing, rolling, jumping, blind firing, the works. All that stuff. It's all fair game. It's all good. Nothing really stops Drake from moving ever. But as you can see here, if there were people in this room and I just straight up ran in there with no plan at all, I would probably be the person to react last compared to the other guy. So another thing to note about sprinting versus jogging is that despite what most people think, sprinting does not add any momentum to your jump at all. None. Zero. Zip. Jogging versus sprinting off of a ledge is just a matter of timing differences and also distance covered off of the ledge. That's about really the only differences between the two when you're moving off of a ledge. So it's really a matter of choosing between, do I want to sprint off this ledge or do I want to keep the sprint time and save it for later and just jump off with a jog. So here I'm going to show examples of this on Village, the jump shortcut to the T-Bolt sniper building. So as you can see here, Drake's legs are going off of the ledge very clearly, and normally in any other game you would just fall off. You wouldn't be able to jump off there. But in since Uncharted 2, you've been able to jump off of a sort of ghost platform, if you will, or ghost ledge. See, his legs are completely off the ledge. They are way off the ledge there. The difference between the jogging's legs and the sprint's legs, though, is what separates the distance differences between them. Because your legs are spreading out more during the sprint animation, which you'll see in a second here, you cover more distance. You're able to jump off of a ledge that is further away from the building here on Village. So you're about to see that and in a second, and I know this is taking a little while. I'm sort of talking ahead of the clips a little bit here because they're slowed down. So here's the sprint. Here's the sprint version of the shortcut. As you can see, I jump much later, but the timing is sooner because the sprint is faster than the jog. The jog takes longer to get there, so your timing is different. That's what I mean by the timing differences. The timing differences. It's because of the speed of the run. I mean, of the animations themselves, getting to the ledge, and yeah. So again, showing it. It's gonna be a side pan in a second. Yeah, it's just a matter of, do I want to take this shortcut now, or do I want to go a different way? It's all about route planning, and depending on where players are around the map. So if you need to get to this guy on the T-ball building, you can do this shortcut here instead of having to fall down and climb up some other way. It saves time. People don't really expect you to come that way. Well, everybody knows about this. This is a general known shortcut, but otherwise, it just saves time. That's the importance of it. If you see someone in a certain position and on this building here, and you want to catch them before they move already, you got to use that shortcut. That's what's important. This is what this is demonstrating. There are going to be situations where you're going to want to do this on certain maps as well, like High Rise and Museum. Any map that has ledges that you need to jump from and to, and in order to reach certain places without dying. It can be a life or death situation, depending on which way you go, but usually it's pretty safe to do these sort of things. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty safe. Now, there's another example I'm going to show in a minute on London streets of another shortcut that isn't commonly known. I've seen a couple of, I guess, quote-unquote top players or veterans do it in matches I've played, but it's not really commonplace, so I decided to show this anyway. Again, see how far off his legs go? Because of the animation, like how far Drake struts out his legs. But yeah, I didn't do a side pan for this because this is basically just the same thing. I'm just showing it to demonstrate how, his legs, like how it's working. And the camera angle matters for this shortcut. If the window is completely blocked from your vision, you cannot grab it. As you saw there earlier, the camera wasn't at the right position. But every time I have the window in my view before I run up and grab it, before I run up and press X. So that's what's important to know. And you also have to be off of the ledge there of the crate in order to climb up there. So yeah. So now we're getting into rolling. Rolling is an option that I personally feel is not as good as it could be. In Uncharted 2, it was not as good as it is in Uncharted 3, obviously, but that doesn't mean a whole lot. As you can see here, I roll while I'm still in his line of sight, but I still died there. The rolling animation takes a long time to start up. As you can see here, like, it takes a very long time before Drake gets into the main part of the roll. And then by the time he gets to the main part of the roll, he's already done with it. And the uncurling, you see him stumble around a bit. You can definitely cancel that with whatever you want except for another roll. So again, here's a side view. See how his legs generally will protect him for a couple of seconds, but that doesn't matter because there's no leg hurt boxes in the game. No leg hit boxes, no hurt boxes, whatever. They are there for a certain amount of time, just not as, again. So here I am showing you that you can cancel the stumble animation of the roll with a jump or aiming or whatever you choose. You just can't do it with another roll. They've purposely put that in. So here's another example here of what happens when you use rolling too late. The animation just starts up way too late. That's the issue here. If the rolling animation had a little bit faster startup, just a little bit, like a couple of milliseconds of a difference, I maybe would have made it out of there alive. But because of lag and how long it takes this takes the startup animation to get started, I died. Additionally, if you pay attention, I was about to throw a grenade, but I canceled the grenade animation there with a roll. I had thought the grenade was tossed already, but apparently that was not the case. So, at the cost of trying to throw a grenade, I died. Otherwise, maybe if I hadn't been trying to throw that grenade, I maybe would have survived as well, because the animation to start the grenade also would be taken into account. You can see this more clearly with me pulling out the grenade and then canceling with the roll here. You can do that. That does work, and that might be why sometimes people are like, why didn't that toss? Why didn't that toss? So keep that in mind. You got to be careful there with that stuff. As for wind rolling is actually useful. It's useful to get behind cover, as you can see here. Any sort of wall, you can probably maybe use rolling to get behind, but because there's no hurt boxes, you might be dead before you get around that corner. So be careful. You can also use rolling to drop grenades and dodge melees, but again, if these are things that they tell you, and I'm not going to talk about them for very long. So let's move along. You can use rolling to roll off of ledges to get down to lower parts of the maps faster. Jumping off is not advised at all. Jumping off takes way longer. It takes a lot longer for you to start descending. And I see lots of players just, jump off of ledges without a care. And it makes them an easier target. Hey, I don't mind it if you guys continue to choose to jump off of ledges, but maybe you should actually start to try rolling off and see how that works for you. It's certainly faster. You can also just sprint off if you like, but rolling off kind of makes you a harder target, even though it's a slower animation. Even though it's a slow animation, it makes you slightly harder to hit. I've never died when I've rolled off a ledge before, so. Additionally, you are not completely vulnerable, as you can blind fire while you're in the air while rolling. As you can see here, you can blind fire while you're rolling. This is something just to be a little bit fancy or flashy or whatever. I've actually killed somebody while doing this before. It's nice because you cover two options. You cover a possible melee hitting you and also making yourself a harder target. Again, useful. So as far as advanced options go for this episode, this is the only one I have for you. You can cancel the roll animation off of the ghost platform, if you will. As you can see here, Drake starts the rolling animation, but as he begins to start it while on the ghost platform, it gets canceled immediately into his fall animation. The startup gives you additional momentum to your standard fall animation. I have gotten crazy momentum before, and other players have noticed this particular quote-unquote glitch, if you will, in the game for a long time, and no one knew how it worked, but I decided to investigate it for this episode. And as you can see here, he starts the animation, it gets canceled, and see that slight momentum boost. It's very slight, but it's there. I've gone to about the car before on this map from this particular ledge. It was pretty crazy, but it's hard to get that insane momentum. It's very difficult to do consistently. So use it if you know how to use it consistently. That is all I can say about that. But this episode's already getting on a little too long in length, so I'm going to have to end it here, guys. I'm sorry. Next episode, we'll talk more about this sort of stuff, maybe dip into jumping and strafing. But until then, tell me how I can improve this series, and I'll see you later. Peace.